Hello, QPR fans, players, TV, home and away. Deejay Ranger back in place once again with another exclusive interview. This time, not with a fan, not with a player, but our first team coach, Mr. Neil Banfield. How are you doing, sir?
Very well, thanks.
Just going on the game on Saturday, before I just quickly ask you just a few bits and bobs in general, if that's all right. I thought second half we played really well, and from like backroom team member, you must have been like delighted the way we come back from being a goal down so early in the game, like us fans as well. It's a shame we didn't get a winner in the end, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. I think against Watford, I think if you're looking at Watford and Bournemouth as well, we took points off the top two teams,
Yeah.
and well-earned points. We played really well, and I think an early setback, which it was a big setback for us, and I think that the team as a group, maybe have a little for 10 minutes, felt that was a bit uncomfortable, but they've come through it, and the response to it, I thought was really good and was really pleasing. Second half, I think you're fair to say we played some really good football and deserved the goal, and maybe should have even gone on to win the game.
You know, unfortunately, I mean, you know, we can't blame the ref, but I mean, the VAR Bay decision, God knows what he was looking at, because I mean, even the linesman, to be fair, I mean, but you know, you can't just pinpoint certain things, but they, you know, another day that could have been given to us. But anyway, which is good to see. I mean, if we can carry that on now into the forthcoming games, you've got Bradford coming up, obviously away. That's going to be tough. Well, they're all tough, to be fair. Never mind just, you know, and obviously Rotherham tomorrow night. But yeah, anyway, Neil, I've got you on just to kind of get an insight into your role. But obviously you've coached for a long time, but you actually played football as well prior to coaching. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Many moons ago, I played for Crystal Palace, maybe debut in the old First Division, Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Then I went out to Australia, come back and played for Leyton Orient. Didn't have the career that I thought I was going to have, and then I went into coaching, and it's gone on from there.
Okay. What position did you play, if you don't mind me asking?
I was a defender.
Okay.
To be fair, anywhere I could get a shirt, if I'm honest, I'd have played in goal.
Okay, mate. So if we get short with injuries, you can step up and play at centre half then for us there.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'd love to. Don't get me wrong. Give me a shirt every day.
Okay, mate. Cool. Thanks for enlightening us on your little career with your Crystal Palace and Leyton Orient, and went to Adelaide as well. And obviously, it's well known that you've coached for many years, a long time at Arsenal, and now you obviously first team coach alongside the other chaps at QPR. Obviously, I'm not going to go into detail. I mean, to coach at somewhere like Arsenal and see some of them players come through must have been like a dream for you guys to coach alongside them.
Yeah, I must admit it was. It was a great experience for me, and I enjoyed every minute. But as you say, it comes to an end. You know, I had some great times at Arsenal, and then leaving there and then getting the opportunity to be a first team coach again at Queen's Park Rangers is again, it's really enjoyable. I'm really enjoying it, and obviously QPR's got a great history from my era, from when I was a kid. I actually come to the Rangers on trial, and the team that they had, Venables, and going back through them stages, and Stan Bowles, and a good friend of mine is Don Givens. So I know I've got quite a little bit of history with Rangers from being as a kid. And I was Clive Allen used to come down to the training ground, and I was trialling there when I was making the decision who I was going to sign for. But Dave Thomas and the teams that QPR had and the way they played, Don Givens and Don Shanks and Ian Gillard and all them kind of people, Phil Park. So I go back quite a long way. So I've got an affinity with it, and it's really it's a privilege to, especially the coaches that've been at the club. Yeah. When you go back at the coaches there, Dave Sexton, Don Givens, to be, Terry Venables, to be in that ilk and be a coach at Queen's Park Rangers, for me, it's a privilege.
Okay, long may it continue as well.
Well,
it's great to have the connections, obviously, you know, back in the day, and you know, like whatever. With like, you know, coaching at Arsenal and now at QPR, I mean, from spotting kids in young age groups building their way through their careers up through the ranks at whatever club it is, whether it be Arsenal or QPR that you coached at. I mean, from a coach's point of view, can you tell if they're going to go on to make it at bigger levels and higher levels, or is it just
I think if anyone tells you can see them, I think you can. There are feuds that come through. I was very privileged to have obviously Jack Wilshere and Cesc Fabregas, and then when they're that age, you watch Rooney and and Joe Cole when he was a kid. You can see them type, yes.
Yeah.
But it's the ones that are just below that you say, yeah, you can definitely see. You can see they've got something. You can definitely see that some things that they bring them out from the ordinary. There's a lot of good players, but even the ones that don't make the top echelons of the game, like even Ebbs. When you look at Ebbs, Abire's, where he's gone through. I think he was at Arsenal and then Millwall, come from Millwall to QPR. But he had ability on the ball. So there's things you can see. I think you can see, but whether you can say they're going to be a player or not, there's so much that goes into the mix that make them a player.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, obviously, it's dedication from themselves as well as the coaches, because obviously you can only teach them so much. They've got to put
absolutely, absolutely, for sure.
Their part as well, you know.
Yes, totally,
totally. A few months back there, I actually done an interview with Andy Impey up at Harlem.
Yes.
I'd done an ex-player because he obviously used to play in that. So I'd done an ex-play with him, and we sat there afterwards, and fair play to him, we sat there for about an hour after with myself and my mate, just chatting about stuff, and my mate goes to watch the academy lot play quite as well. But he talked about Abere, and he just said, there's loads more to see of him, but they're holding him back on it, kind of thing. So I kind of said to him, they should let him just go and let him torment. But I suppose you've got to nurture them, like as a coach. You know, you can't just go full throttle, because obviously they're still learning. You know.
Yeah, they are, and I think you get to know where you've got to let the young player have his head and away he goes and do it. But I think you've also got to guide them and show them and know when to bring them out. It's just important to keeping them in there too long. Yeah. And as they get used to it and they get more and more and more, I think Ilyas is one. Yeah. He's went out to Stevenage. He's come back. He played a few games in he played a few games in the first team. He played a few more last year. Now this year, at the moment, he's a regular starter for us. And I think you've like Osman Kakai, he's come into the team. And I think you've got Nico Hammerleinen, another one. They've been all young lads that have gradually found in their feet. And I think the club is very healthy with young player situation. And then I think these players will only get better for this season in the Championship.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you just state from there with the younger players, the Archer Ilyas chair, and when Abere was there, and Osman Kakai. And even there's must be more coming through. I mean, Patash. I mean, I haven't really seen him play too much, but my friend who does go to watch them play, he said he looks decent, and that was back then. You know what I mean? Now he's kind of
Faisal. Yeah, he's been brought up in Marks. The manager's brought him up into the first team group, and he's took his chance, and he's been training really well. And he's another one that I think Mark, when the time's right, he'll give him a game. But he's learning so much by just being in and around the first team group at QPR.
Gaining experience. I'm sure it's the same when you're at Arsenal with the lesser players compared to the big star names that you coached alongside yourself, Neil. To work alongside these players, you're going to gain experience through them as well as for the coaching staff and the backroom team.
Absolutely. Spot on. You gain, we used to play, some of them, we don't speak too much about when I was at the Arsenal, but when we played games in the Premier League 2, with the young players, would play alongside people like Sol Campbell, who were playing, coming back for injury. It was invaluable. And it's just like now when you've got Faisal training with likes of Jeff Cameron, training with like Lyndon Dykes and Rob Dickey. These young players are learning so much from them, and it's invaluable for them.
Well, as you know yourself, Neil, from coaching and being in the footballing world for so many years, you do need that mix and blend of experienced players and the youngsters coming through to nurture them. So obviously, hopefully, then they can not replicate what the experienced ones are doing, but maybe take over, because then that keeps that generation, and their experience going more and more. So then when you go to these big grounds with these big support against them, they're not going to be intimidated. They'll just go and play their game, hopefully.
Absolutely. I think what the club's got at the moment, they've got a manager who, I think you look at his record, he gives young players chances. They've got to be good enough. Don't get me wrong. They've got to be good enough and ready, but he will play them. And I think that with the club, when you look at the club and having a good youth section or having good young players is one of the pillars of having a strong club, because they've got a feeling for it. And we've both come from clubs that do believe in youth, and that is a major part of the structure of the club. Making your own players and developing them into first team players. And I think when you're putting so much work and time into them, you've got to play them. But with youth, when you're playing young players, they do make mistakes sometimes, and you have to go with it a little bit, because that's what they're going to. There's not many come in and go every game and play and don't make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but you have to go them. But if you have belief in your young players, allied to your strong, experienced players, I think it's a good recipe for success.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, very true words. I mean, like, you know, you're going back on, like, young players, or even experienced players make mistakes. They wouldn't be human if they didn't, kind of thing. You know, everyone makes mistakes, you know.
Of course they do. But obviously, when you're playing in the first team, we all know that it's the real world, and they can't make too many mistakes. You know, they've got, you know, obviously, you know, everyone does, and you've got to go with them. But on a Saturday, we're playing for points, and we want to get as high as we can, and we're ambitious to get the club as high as we can up. So it's really a double-edged sword that if they do make them, they've got to learn very quickly.
Yeah.
Because if you make too many, you lose the game. And Saturdays, you know, we've got to win. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, as a fan, you sit there and you hear people slagging players off because they made a big mistake. All right, they don't mean to make these mistakes. It happens. You know what I mean? Obviously, I won't blame players individually. It's like, because at the end of the day, they know they've made a mistake themselves personally. But then when you get charging stuff against them, I think that's wrong. You know, and it's like, but as you just stated there a little while ago, they're all making mistakes, especially the younger ones, because they're still learning the game. But
they do so much good things as well. I think if you look at some of them, the way they do you. Unfortunately, I think it does go with the territory where you play. If you have a shot and you miss the goal and everyone go, oh, unlucky. But if you're a defender and you make a mistake and you get punished, it could end up in goal. So I think that side is where you play as well. You can have a shot and really should sip someone in, but people will still go, oh, what a good shot. I think that's just human nature. But I don't think there's anyone that I've ever really known. Everyone's trying their hardest, trying their best, and you try to make mistakes as minimal as you can.
Of course, and as you just stated a little while ago as well, Neil, about, you know, you can't make too many of them, because then you will get, I mean, obviously you might get dropped, or you'll get barracking from the fans. Oh, okay, they pay their money to go and watch the team play, and you want to win the games, because at the end of the day, football is a results game, as you know yourself. You know,
absolutely. The fans pay their money. Of course they do. They pay their money, and as long as it's directed in the right way, of course, everyone who's in the football industry understands that. That's not a problem. You know, I just think that I've got to say, overall, I think they're doing really well, and they've got us into a good position. And if we can kick on in the next few games, I think we could surprise a few. I
mean, with regards to more youth coming through, other than what we've got coming through already, is there any? How many do you reckon we might have coming through in the forthcoming season? Because
to be honest, I've got to be honest with you, they train down at Eston, and that's Chrissy, Ramsey, and Les. They deal with that, and we have certain games, and we'll bring them up. We see some of the 23 games. I'm going tomorrow to see the 23s playing at Colchester, and that is basically one of the reasons, because George is playing. I'm going to watch him, and we've got Dylan's come up from the 23s and joined us. Dylan De Silva. He's had a really good week training with us, and he's really enjoying it. So they're playing tomorrow. So I'll go to there in the morning and go to the game in the evening for to see how George's fitness is coming along in preparation for later on during the forthcoming games.
Yeah. So would you say that the future's bright and blue looking for QPR with regards to?
I think it is. I think when you look, I think over the last, I think if you see Joe Lumley. I think if you look, Oz Kakai, Nico Hamalainen, Ilyas Jar, I think, and also we've taken in Chrissy Willett, who's a young player. Yeah. I think the future's really bright for the young players. Yes, I do.
I mean, that sounds great to hear. I mean, obviously, you know, it's sounding great, as you know yourself, Neil, and actually putting it into practice on the pitch, where at training and then on the match day as well. You know, hopefully that.
Well, I think if you say the players who come on Saturday against West Bromwich Albion, against Watford, who were playing in the Premier League and are a Premier League squad.
Exactly.
They played really, really well, and I think that gives us real good belief and take that on, take that realisation that we can really play well and we can upset a load of people. I think the future can be really good for the squad. Absolutely.
It's proved it. I mean, as you stated, like, we look at our results: Bournemouth away, Watford at home. I mean, we lost to Barnsley away, unfortunately, but you know that's one of those things, and then whether else. But we have put some good performance in this season.
Yeah, I truly believe we have. Obviously, if we're honest, there's one or two that I think once you do look at it, you think we could have done better there. Yeah, of course. But overall, over the games we've played, think we've set ourselves up or get her into a position to push on, and hopefully we will.
Well, yes, hopefully, mate. Fingers crossed, starting tomorrow night against Rotherham, and then
Absolutely.
Hopefully, playing them lot down the road in Hounslow, we might actually start a new trend of actually beating them for once. But they, like themselves, they've been building their teams up for years, and now it's coming to fruition for them in a way. I know they've sold some players in recent times, but that's the way to do it. And if the club are looking that way,
I've got to say, I think if you look to the side from last year to the side this year, we've got Oz come in, Ozzy Kakai, we've got obviously Rob Dickey we've brought in, Nico's playing now, we've brought Tom Carroll in, Lyndon Dykes in, we've brought Macaulay Bonn in, Chris Willock, you know, and it takes time to gel the side together, and Mark's done marvellously well last season with the group. We've had to then change it again because we're looking what Mark's looking to the managers to build a real young side, and to bring 6 or 7 players in, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a bit of time, and we're also getting together at the sharp end. You're playing every week, so for what I think what he's achieved and what the side's achieved is, I think, obviously everyone likes to win every game, but I think you've got to look at it realistically and where we are and what we've done. It only holds us, we believe, behind obviously the backroom staff, to believe very strongly that we will push right ahead. We really do. We've got a lot of faith in this group.
Well, let's hope so, Neil. You know, we've had some great results and not so great results, but that happens with every team, you know, more or less kind of thing, for the exception of the ones who are near the top or the bottom, because obviously they've won more or they've lost more. I mean, you know, but we've got a good blend of young and old players there, and more coming through. So it does look great, and hopefully with the likes of yourself and Mark and all the rest of nurture them along, we'll reap the benefits in maybe with this season and the forthcoming season. Hopefully we can actually... I've got
to say it won't be for the want of trying, because he worked so hard, and John Eustace and all the backroom staff, we're all putting, and the squad, I've got to say, the squad of players have been outstanding it is testing times, and we've got 9 games in 21 days. We've got a really slight squad, and you know, and the games before the last international break, I think I think they're really working hard and putting a real good shift in, and they've got a real good spirit and togetherness about amongst the club, amongst the lads, and I think there's a lot of good signs that you think, it's a good feeling. They've got a real good feeling.
That's good to hear, Neil. That's good to hear. I just want to say thank you very much for joining on QPR Fans and Players TV, Neil, and giving us an insight into your footballing days as a player for a little bit, and then from the coaching side, as well as being at Arsenal, and then coming across to QPR, even though you had affiliation with us, and give us a little insight into what you see for the future for the club. And I just want to say a big thank you to you, Neil, for joining me.
No. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, and I've got to say, I've only been there like a year and a few months, but getting the fans back in, they mean a lot to the team when we're playing on the Saturdays. You don't realise having the fans along with us, and to now start getting dribs coming back in, I think that's a big bonus for the team as well, to have the actual supporters back in the club. I think it'd be great for us. Great boost before Christmas.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, Neil. On that note, keep up the good work, and send my regards to the team and say well done, and keep up the good work on the players as well.
Of course.
That's it for myself, Deejay Ranger, with the one, the only, Mr. Neil Banfield, QPR first team coach. We're out of here. Come on, you R'ss.
Come on, you R'ss.